welcome to our fireside chat. Investcorp is doing this along with WinPE. We are proud to be one of WinPE's founding members, and we've recently signed a charter for gender diversity along with WinPE's other members, which outlines the fundamental principles that will guide collective action on increasing gender diversity within the private equity industry. Joining me today is Julie Yang. She is the Vice President in European Private Equity team based out of our London office, has over 10 years experience, studied in the US, has an undergrad from Duke and her MBA from Wharton. And we are very excited to have her in our fireside chat today. Julie, over to you.
Thanks very much, Jordana. I'm really excited to be taking part in this Women's Week event. With us, we also have Shethia, the country head of Investcorp India. He's been with our firm for over 20 years and has global experience across the UK, the US, and the Middle East. So we're super excited to have him here today. Hi, Harsh.
Hey, hi, Julie. Thanks for having me.
So we are here today to talk a bit more about gender diversity and private equity. And I think the diversity initiatives themselves are super important, and equally important is getting the buy-in and support from senior leaders like yourself. So maybe just to start off, we can talk about how you define gender equality and equity and why it's important for firms and for Investcorp India.
So, for me, it's more gender equity that's important. And it's a really important pillar for sustainable development. If you look at the female participation rate in the workforce in India, it's amongst the lowest in the world. In fact, in the last 30 years, we've really gone backwards. It's declined from about 30% to around 20% today. If you compare it to, two countries which border India, one is China, the participation rate is at 60%, and Bangladesh, our neighbor, is at 37%. So there's a practical reason, about better utilization of resources, which means that, economic activities will improve. India has the largest number of poor people in the world, so at 400 million. But beyond the practical reason of the economic development, which is really important, there's also moral and ethical area to focus on. I have a daughter who's 21 years old, looking to start her first full-time job soon within a year or so. What kind of world is she entering into? I also have the good fortune of having another daughter on the way in the next few weeks, and I have to think about what kind of world is she entering? What kind of world is she entering into? So, so I think for a variety of reasons, sustainable development being the main one, gender equity is really important for us.
Yeah, that's super important. And what about some of the biggest obstacles to achieving more gender equity? And what do you see as some potential solutions or policies to help bridge that gap?
So we have a long way to go, and there are quite a few obstacles, a few that come to mind. So education is one of them. But when you look at the enrollment figures in higher education in India, we have equal participation, men and women. It's just, post-graduation, we don't really see that translate into the workforce. And there are many reasons for this, but one of the key reasons is there's a mismatch between the education that is sought by female versus male versus what the employers demand. For example, there's a lot more demand on STEM graduates, but in India, we have a lot more female graduates from the humanities side. Another obstacle is safety. How safe do women feel working outside? I know it seems odd, but in India, that's a pretty important consideration. So as an employer, there's a lot that can be done with this in terms of creating a positive, safe working environment for women. The third one is domestic workload. There is a mismatch in terms of the activities that are done at home in terms of the workload for women, so that potentially hampers career progress, etc. So as an employer, though, there are at least two areas that we can focus on. One is providing quality childcare really close to work. It could be an important consideration in terms of where you locate your offices, how do you provide it, do you group up with other businesses to do so. And the second, which more recent phenomenon that has been well accepted and is really helping a lot, is a flexible and a hybrid work policy that helps a fair bit. And the last obstacle I want to cover is biases. We all have our own inherent biases, some positive, some negative. Those will take a while to change. But my biggest concern right now is that some of these biases are going to creep into machine learning. Machine learning algorithms very dominated by men who are writing this based on current society norms. And before we know it, over the next 5 to 10, 15 years, right, that could become one of the biggest obstacles, and we need to try and rectify that today.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And how about ways in which you champion the cause within Investcorp India and its portfolio companies? Are there perhaps any anecdotes that stand out from your journey along the way?
So, I'm really excited of being part of a alternatives firm with private equity, as one of the key sources of capital in terms of how we deploy it. Because it allows you to have that multiplier effect in terms of being able to provide access to finance to businesses where it matters, where change can really occur. But in addition to that multiplier effect of access to finance, I think the other important thing is role models. Investcorp, happy to be part of this firm. We've been ranked amongst the top 5 globally in terms of diversity and inclusion on the private equity side 2 years in a row. That really sets a culture, a tone within the organization, and then it starts translating across everything that we do, across the recruiting, the induction, the apprenticeship, which is really important in our field of business, and the development of staff. So it's here to say, it's from top down, it's bottoms up. We are, improving as we speak along the way. And just to give some examples, just in the last few months itself in this quarter, we've recently backed a business called Wingreens, which is founded and CEO is Anju Srivastava. We were able to attract a founder, CEO of Mad Street Den, which is a machine learning business, and the founder is Ashwini Ashokan, to join the SPAC board for Investcorp India. And we've had a global conversation with another woman founder, CEO, Falguni Nair of Nykaa, which wasn't just an Indian audience. We had hundreds of people globally participating and listening to what Falguni had to say.
Super interesting. And maybe just in closing, do you have any advice for diverse professionals, be it gender or socioeconomic class, but ways for them to kind of overcome the challenges that still exist for more diversity, equity, and inclusion today?
So I think it's really hard to overcome biases. Unfortunately, a lot of people take time unless it hits home. So I would recommend really for the diverse professionals to keep communicating. Don't be shy about it. Be the change agent. Be more proactive. Don't quit easily. Try to change the system. And I think at the end of this, all of us will be more satisfied. And in addition to that, it will be a huge, service to our society.
That's great. Well, I want to say thank you to Harsh and to Jordana and everyone for listening. I think we still have a long way to go with respect to gender equality and private equity, but conversations like this are steps in the right direction.
Okay, great. Thanks, Jordana. Thanks, Julie. Everyone, take care.